Today, we're going to dive into a story that plays out over millions of years. It's a pretty dramatic tale of how islands are born from fire, how they live, and ultimately, how they die in this constant epic battle against the sea.
When you picture an island, you probably think of something permanent, right? Solid, unmoving rock. But the truth is, from the very second they're born, they're locked in this incredible struggle for their own existence. It's literally a race between the forces that build them up and the forces trying to tear them right back down.
And that story, it starts deep, deep beneath the ocean, with one of the most powerful creative forces on our planet, a volcano.
Okay, so it all begins with this fiery heart, right? Magma from the Earth's mantle just forces its way up. Now, when it erupts onto the dark, freezing cold seafloor, the insane pressure and icy water instantly shock the lava into these glassy, pillow-like shapes. And over thousands, maybe even a million years, eruption after eruption just keeps stacking up, building this massive underwater mountain. And then one day, its peak finally breaks through the waves in a huge cloud of steam, and a brand new island is born into the sunlight.
But, and this is a big but, just breaking the surface is not the end of the story. Nope. In fact, that's just the start of the real fight. Because as soon as that island is born, two huge adversaries get to work, trying to drag it right back under the sea.
So here's the fundamental conflict, this cosmic tug-of-war. On one side, you've got the raw power of the volcano pushing the island up, building it layer by layer. But on the other side, you've got the relentless forces of erosion. Wind, rain, waves, constantly chipping away at it from above. And then there's this other, more sneaky force, subsidence. As all that new volcanic rock cools down and its massive weight presses on the Earth's crust, the entire island starts this slow, unavoidable sink back into the deep.
So, with the volcano's fire going out and the island sinking, it really seems like it's game over. But then, an unlikely champion shows up, totally ready to jump into the fight for survival.
And here it is, the coral polyp. These tiny little animals are nature's master builders. They're the architects of the ocean. They pull minerals right out of the seawater to build their own intricate, stony skeletons. And over generations, these skeletons build up, one on top of the other, creating these huge, living structures we call coral reefs. Basically, vibrant cities of life, all built on the bones of their ancestors.
Now take a look at this number, 1 to 10 millimeters a year. I know, it sounds incredibly slow, doesn't it? But here's the thing. In a geological race that lasts for millions of years, this slow, steady, persistent upward growth is the island's one and only hope of winning its race against a sinking seafloor.
And this delicate balance, this race between sinking and growing, it's at the heart of one of the most beautiful theories in all of geology. And it was first figured out by, you guessed it, a young Charles Darwin. He was the first person to realize that the life of an island was this incredible race. So Darwin's theory basically plays out in 3 acts. Act 1, a young volcanic island gets this fringing reef growing right along its coast. Then, Act 2, as the island starts to sink, the coral just keeps growing upward, always reaching for that sunlight. This creates a lagoon between the shore and the reef, which now acts like a barrier. And finally, Act 3, the original volcanic mountain is gone, completely vanished beneath the waves, leaving only a beautiful ring of coral at the surface, an atoll, marking its watery grave.
And this quote just perfectly captures the drama, doesn't it? It's a marathon, not a sprint. The coral has to grow just fast enough to keep its head above water, to stay in that precious sunlit zone, all while its entire foundation is slowly sinking into the dark abyss.
So what's the deciding factor? What ultimately decides if the coral wins or loses this multi-million-year race? Well, it all comes down to one incredibly powerful factor, a kind of master control switch for the island's entire fate.
And that switch is called relative sea level. This is the whole ball game. See, it's not just about how much the oceans are rising or falling globally. No, it's the relationship between the global sea level and what the local land itself is doing, which in our island's case is sinking. The coral doesn't care if the sea is rising or if the land is sinking. All it knows is how fast the water is getting deeper right where it lives. That's it.
And the speed of that relative sea level change, that's what seals the deal. It determines the 2 possible final endings for our island in its epic race against time.
So you've got 2 possible endings to this story, victory or defeat. If the coral's growth can keep up with or even outrun the rise in relative sea level, you get an atoll. That's a victory for life. But if the sea rises too fast for the coral to keep up, the reef drowns. It literally gives up the ghost, leaving behind what's called a guyot, a flat-topped, dead underwater mountain lost to the abyss, the ghost of an island that lost its race.
So why does any of this matter? Well, understanding this whole life cycle is more important now than ever. It shows us that islands are not these static monuments. They're incredibly dynamic systems, balanced on a knife's edge. They're living, breathing records of our planet's history, and their fate is a direct response to how fast the sea level changes. That makes them canaries in the coal mine for our changing climate.
So this incredible race between geology and biology, played out over millions of years, isn't just some story about the ancient past. As we face a future with accelerating environmental change, the life and death of these islands offer a critical warning and a really profound question. What story will today's islands tell about us?